Today, on Be Something Wonderful, how to level up and master reality creation. This is huge. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. One of you commented on the channel, and a few of you wrote to me asking about what creates what. Is it feelings that create thoughts? Is it beliefs that create feelings? Is it the state of being? Is it what creates what? And so here's one of the comments that I wanted to unpack. And you're all right. This is the good news. But really, let's unpack it. She says, your state gives rise to your beliefs, which give rise to your thoughts. The state is what creates. Your feeling determines your state. That's what the subscriber said. And then other of you have written me and said, well, I think it's that your beliefs that create your state, and that your thoughts that create your feelings. And I just want to say to all of you that you're all right. Right? What we're really talking about is that cause equals effect and effect equals cause. Right? It's the classic chicken and egg. What came first? But today we're going to unpack it like we never have unpacked it. Because here's the deal. God came first, right? God had a thought, and all the rest is history. So we really got to get at what first cause is and then work from there. Because it is true that thoughts create feelings and feelings create thoughts. And that beliefs create states and that states create beliefs. But really, let's unpack it. And so it's not necessarily that your feelings determines your state, in that it's your state that creates. I want you to really hear this. It's that your state or state of being includes all thoughts, all feelings, all beliefs, and all assumptions. Your state of being is that. It's all of that. So really, what created what is thought was the start of it all. There was no state of being until there's a thought. Right? So yes, all of that's true. There's no argument there. Cause equals effect. But what came first really is God. Right? It's not whether the chicken came first or the egg, is that God came first. God had a thought, right? Feelings, remember, only tell you what you're thinking. So feelings do come from thoughts, but then what you're feeling after you think something, you start thinking other thoughts based on those feelings. Do you see it? So they all thoughts, feelings, beliefs, states, all are causative at some level. But it really depends on the way you're looking at it and what level you're looking on. Hear this, right? But really what I want to say is it's really just thought that creates everything. This is what all the spiritual teachers will tell you. Remember, what is energy? That energy or that structure that we call the quantum field or God or all that is it's an energetic information matrix. So it is just thoughts, right? That's really it. Beliefs are just, and here's this thing with beliefs. Yes, your state gives rise to your beliefs, but really what are beliefs? Beliefs give rise to thoughts, but beliefs are thoughts. Beliefs are a bunch of thoughts that you thought a lot about, and they came together and attracted other thoughts, and then you started believing those things as true. That's what beliefs are, right? What you believe is true. So beliefs are just thoughts that you thought a lot about and gathered more thought to become your truth, right? Your state of being includes all of it, right? What we're really talking about here, what's the sponsoring thought? What started it all? That's God, right? So we're going to really do an unpacking today like you've never seen, the likes of that you've never seen. So I want to talk about so when I say how to level up, I guess guys, I brought out 2 whiteboards for today's lesson. That's how big this is, because you're going to need it, right? So I really want to unpack this. This is really, this is the seven levels of creation. Remember, 7 is a biblical number. 7 means perfectly divine, perfectly whole. It means there's nothing else. You're all complete. That's why we have these 7 levels, right? And really, what are these levels based on? They're all based on separation. So think of it as, if you want to think of it as the 7 levels of creation or the 7 levels of separation. Hear this, because separation is creation. I want you to really hear this, right? Because if you're just whole, if you're all that is, if you're God, well, How do you know you are creation? You are all there is. The only way you can create is separate. Hear this. And that's what we are doing here in 3D reality. We have separated from the one, right, as a soul. And now we're creating based on that separation. And the more you separate, the more you create. But let's really unpack this. So let's start with the 7th level. That's all there is. That's infinity. That's God. That's first cause. That's the first. God had a thought, and all the rest were history. All the other levels, right? That's source. Then there's your I am awareness. I am a soul. That's the first separation. We separated as an infinite amount of souls, right? To experience what it is to be all that is, right? As God, right? That's it. I am awareness. I am a soul. Then the next separation is identity. I am this person. I am Tom. Who are you? Right? I am a person. That's level 5. That's when the action starts. Right? That's where and I say action as fun, right? So level 5 then is what you identify with. Who's your identity? Who are you? If you start identifying yourself as a divine being that's reveling on earth, then that's what your identity is. That's where that identity, that viewpoint that you take determines everything else. You're a soul who identifies with someone or something as something, right? Then you have level 4. Those are core beliefs or assumptions. That's how the world works, or linear time, your relationship to the world. It's what you believe or how the world works, right? You're less aware of all of this, right? A lot of these are in your subconscious, right? They're not brought to conscious awareness. They're beliefs, though, that you view as true. Remember, beliefs were just thought. God had a thought. Then there was another thought that I am a soul. Then there's a thought that I am Tom, or I am this person. And then there's core beliefs that are around that identity, right? Beliefs viewed as truth, right? We think linear time is true, right? Other beliefs that how the world works. You think these are assumption beliefs. And then there's other thoughts on level 3 are more thoughts and beliefs. These are like thoughts and beliefs. These are beliefs based on your core beliefs, on your core thoughts, on the one thought coming down, right? Lots of thoughts, lots of beliefs that you're really more aware of on level 3. You're more aware of what you're thinking. Then those thoughts, those beliefs generate feelings and emotions. Right? Emotion means it's either based in fear or love. It's the filter. And then the feelings are either it's joy or hate or something else, or frustration or irritation. Those are all created based on what you're thinking or believing. You're only ever feeling what you're thinking or believing. Then the first level is action. That's action in 3D. That's what we're used to. We're used to taking action and then having emotions and feelings, and then having thoughts, and then core thoughts. We're used to going from 1 to 7 as opposed to 7 to 1. Do you hear this? This is big. I'm going to leave this up because I'm going to be referring to it throughout the lesson. So think of it as these 7 degrees of separation, or these 7 levels. So let's come over here. This is fun today, right? You are one. All that is infinity. That's first cause. That's no separation. That's level 7. Level 7. The first separation is I am a soul. I am awareness. That's level 6. Then you separate further by saying I am this or I am that. You identify with something. You identify with being somebody. That's the key, right? That's what Neville got it and all the spiritual teachers talked about, right? That's what determines your state. Right? That's what determines your state. It's not that your state creates your identity. Your identity creates everything. Your state, your feelings, your thoughts, everything else, and all the actions you take, right? Then you've got level 4. Then that identity creates core beliefs about reality or its relationship to it. What's the relationship from that identity to reality? Then those truths or models of reality create more beliefs and thoughts. 4 is like your model. What's your model of reality? What do you think reality is like? Then those you believe are true. You believe those as truth. You don't even think about them anymore. Right? You've thought about them so much that they're pushed back in the subconscious as truths, right? Then these truths or models of reality create more beliefs and thoughts on level 3. Then those beliefs and thoughts create certain emotions and feelings. And I'm not saying that, again, each one of these levels is also creative in its own right, right? In other words, feelings can create thoughts, and thoughts create feelings, right? And then these core beliefs can create other beliefs, and those other these other beliefs and thoughts could turn into core beliefs. Do you see what we're getting at here, right? And you could even start believing you're somebody different. You can work your way up this way, right? Inductively to God. Or you can think like God and think deductively, I'm God and I'm going to work my way down, right? These beliefs and thoughts create certain feelings. And then those feelings and emotions create certain reactions and behaviors in 3D reality. But it's also true that certain reactions and behaviors create certain emotions and feelings and other thoughts. Do you see it, guys? That's how it works. Let's really take a deep dive today. While focused in levels 1, 2, and 3, you can only build, right? Not built, build a new house with old bricks. Remember this from Vadim Zeland in Reality Transurfing, and other spiritual teachers talk about the idea of that you can only build a new house with old bricks, right? This is the idea that if you're focused in these first 3 levels of action, emotions, and like thoughts that are all created here, then you're only really working with these old bricks to build a new house. It's levels 4 and 5 where the magic happens. Levels 4 and 5 where you have identity and core beliefs, where you identify with something, and that identity creates these core beliefs or truths or assumptions. That's where the magic happens, right? Level 5, your identity or concept of yourself is the architect of your life. Right? So you got to change the bricks. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with the same thing. You've got to change your thoughts, your feelings. Otherwise, you're going to have the same thing. You're going to change your core beliefs, right? You've got to change the architect or your identity to really create the house you want. It all starts with the architect, right? And then remember, you could even think of the architect has a blueprint. Those are your core beliefs. That becomes the blueprint of your reality, right? We'll get to this in a second. Here it is. You create the blueprint of your reality, your life experience. That's level 4, right? Level 4. That's your blueprint, the core beliefs. You're the architect. That's your identity. The blueprints are your core beliefs, or what you view as true, right? That's what creates your house, right? And that's what you believe is true. And then that blueprint, the closest the blueprint is to your, what I wanted to say here, the closest that blueprint, those core beliefs about reality, level 4 behind me, level 4, the closest that is to you living, the closest that is to your divine blueprint, who you really are, the infinite you, the soul, right? The closer that is then that's the closest you're going to be to creating heaven on earth. Do you hear it? The closer that you're the architect, the closer that your blueprints, your core beliefs, the truths, what things you consider true based on your identity, are that of your infinite self or your soul, the closer you are to living heaven on earth. That's big. So let's unpack this a little bit more. Most of us have been conditioned, hear this, most of us have been conditioned to believe 3D reality, right? To believe in 3D reality, if I take certain actions on level 1, then I can be what I desire to be on level 5. I can be a certain identity. Hear this. We're so used to thinking that if we take actions on the lowest level of creation, on level 1, that we can be what we desire to be on level 5. This means you take actions here and you're trying to work your way up to here. That's what we've been taught, right? Remember, the higher dimension, the metaphysical realm, takes a different, the spiritual way is a different way, right? There's either the hard way or the aligned way. This is right. On the metaphysical realm, you assume or occupy the chosen identity. So you go to level 5, you decide what you want to be. And then and it's also level 4, at the same time you're determining or creating your core beliefs or what you think reality is. So you go to the architect and then you create the blueprints. And then energetically you attract level 3. You track the thoughts and information and the emotions and feelings, level 2 and 3, and then you are moved to take certain actions in 3D. That's how it works. right? You go to level 5, you decide what kind of architect you want to be, and then you create the blueprints around that. And then you attract all the materials, the bricks, the laborers, and everybody else who's going to help you build that life or build that reality. That's big. Right? So you assume and occupy the level 5, the identity. Levels 4 and 5, you create those blueprints, those core beliefs. Then you would energetically attract the beliefs, the thoughts and informations, level 3, and the emotions and feelings, level 2. And then you're moved to take certain actions. That's what we call enchanted actions. That's what we call inspired actions. They're inspired from the higher levels. But if you start at level 1, you take 3D action. That's the difference. Right? And a lot of those are to compensate for just miscreating at the higher levels. Right? When you start with level 5, your level 1 actions become enchanted and inspired. That's what we mean by enchanted. But if you start at level 1, most likely they won't be inspired or enchanted. And then you're going to end up taking more actions to compensate for that and try to fix the mess you made energetically. Right? Most of the time, the actions we take are to fix the mess that we made within, to fix the energetic mess or the state of being within. Do you hear that? So let's, and this includes me too, I get it. So this would be a typical example. If I study spiritual principles, and follow certain spiritual teachers, level 1 action, I will become a spiritual person. Level 5 identity. I want to be identified as a spiritual person, an enlightened person, right? So all of that's what we're used to. We're used to taking action to make something happen. And we still get in this habit when we take on processes. Whether it's our imaginal act, affirmations, scripting, we still want to make something happen. We still think from a level 5 from a level 1 taking action to a level 5 who we are viewpoint, right? Instead, identify as that spiritual person, and you will attract and be led to the spiritual teachers and information that is relevant. And then you take action. You take enchanted action. So you attract all the elements. That's what attraction means. Or it means that you perceive more of it. Right? You're more open to it. You're perceiving and receiving from a higher level. Level 5 to level 1. That's enchanted action. That's why it's so difficult to change or release some habit or addictive behavior. Right? We all try to, whatever you're trying to change, whatever habit or addictive behavior you're trying to change, we take action. Right? We think we can just stop. Right? That's an action, right? Or we take inaction, thinking that we can change something on level 1. It's possible. But guys, that's all 3D level thinking because it takes an enormous amount of effort, discipline. It takes struggle and repeating it and to change it from level 1 on up. Right? It's possible. But wow, think of the struggle as you struggle to get through those levels. Right? Without changing source, without getting to the source of all of it, it will just return and only be temporary. That's why oftentimes we go back to the same habits, right? Because we haven't changed level 2, the emotions and feelings. We haven't changed level 3, the thoughts and beliefs, the like thoughts and beliefs we got. We haven't changed level 4, our core beliefs. Right? What we assume about reality, and we haven't changed level 5, who we are. Wow. That's big. So level 1 actions generally don't stick and create a lasting change because of the strong feelings and emotions on level 2. Right? Because of those strong feelings and emotions that you're feeling on level 2, level 1 actions don't last. It's like doing affirmations or some level 1 actions can influence your unwanted reality. Right? Like feeling aversion and trying to get rid of unwanted reality. So doing affirmations, like level 1 actions, they can reinforce your unwanted reality. Right? This is what we talk about. That's sometimes when you ask, well, why am I getting the opposite? Why am I getting more unwanted? That's why. You're taking actions without changing the emotion. Level 2, or without changing the beliefs or the thoughts behind that emotion, level 3, or without changing your core beliefs or how you view reality, level 4, or without changing who you are, level 5. Wow. So then you take more action is required to believe and fix the mess you made. Do you see this, guys? Actions inspired or enchanted from you, level 5. Those are the actions. The identification with who you desire to be, right? The desired version of yourself. Those are the most powerful actions. I'm not saying you can't get those actions without, you could identify with yourself and immediately be inspired. Right? So even acting as if, this is the power, and we talk a lot about acting as if, but even acting as if is better. Hear me out, is better than uninspired action or action to compensate for making a mess within. Right? It's at least better. Faking it till you make it is better than just making a mess. So let's unpack this some more. If you are building a house that you don't like, right? In other words, you're building with old bricks. Unwanted, that's on level 1. You're taking unwanted actions or behavior. Change the bricks, right? Change the old bricks, the old emotions, the old feelings on level 2, and or your beliefs and thoughts on level 3. Or even better, your core beliefs on level 4 and the concepts of yourself about reality. Change the blueprints, right? So hear this. You're building a house, you don't like the house. You're using old bricks, but you don't want to change the bricks. You don't want to change it's hard to change the bricks. It's hard to change them. And then the source of those bricks, the thoughts and beliefs, you don't want to change those either. And then it's too hard. And then behind those thoughts and beliefs are your core beliefs, level 4. Right? How you believe about reality. And those thoughts became truth to you. You see them as true. So you don't want to change what you believe is true. And those are the blueprints. You've got to change the blueprints. You have old blueprints that you still believe in. Dump those blueprints, create new blueprints, create new truths, new core beliefs. How do you do that? By level 5. But the most powerful part, that is the most powerful level of reality creation. Change your identity. It's there you can make sure you don't end up with crappy or unwanted blueprints. Because even here, you can end up, even the blueprints might not even be correct. So you might be creating from level 4 versus level 3 or 2 or 1, but you may have a faulty blueprint. So it's only on level 5 where you can assure that you have the most beautiful blueprints or core beliefs. And then those core beliefs will ensure that you have the most wonderful thoughts and beliefs about your everyday 3D reality. And then those thoughts and beliefs will create the most beautiful emotions and feelings. And then you're going to have beautiful actions. You're going to be floating in 3D on level 1, taking inspired action. That's how it works, right? Many common practices focus on releasing emotions. Level 2, right? Release the emotion, because why? Dr. Hawkins talks about this, right? Feel the feeling to the end, and then it will end. Let it pass through your body. This is a great, not just for reality creation, but when these emotions come up, even when you are starting at level 5, you might have a rogue emotion, a rogue feeling. Release it, right? But that's where most reality creation starts, on releasing emotions, not resisting them and feeling them fully to pass through your body. This is the Dr. Hawkins technique. Or you just try to identify with the underlying belief. That's another part, right? Either you identify the emotion and you release that, or you identify the thought or belief that's causing the emotion. But here's what Hawkins says: when you find the emotion, that releases hundreds of related thoughts. So when you do that on level 2, you're really releasing a lot of those thoughts on level 3. Do you see how it all ties together here, guys? So let's unpack this a little bit more. Remember, you are only ever feeling, level 2, what you're thinking and believing, level 3. And you are thinking and believing what you consider to be true of reality in the world and yourself. That's level 4. Do you hear this? So, and what you consider to be true of reality in the world is based on your identity and viewpoint, level 5. Wow, do you see this, guys? The 7 levels, right? The biblical meaning means complete, right? Wow, that's big. So here's the good news, though, and there's always good news, right? Your identity and viewpoint comes from and is influenced by your identity as a soul, as that I am. Right, that level 6, that I am awareness. So the more you're influenced by your soul or by source, then the easier it gets to identify with the most ideal version of yourself. When you identify with the most ideal version of yourself, then you create the most ideal core beliefs and assumptions of reality and who you are and your relationship to it, what you believe is true. And that attracts like thoughts and beliefs. And those thoughts and beliefs generate feelings and emotions, and all those feelings and emotions generate this beautiful inspired action in 3D, right? And bring you, and it moves you, right? That higher energy moves you in 3D, right? So, and your I am awareness is one with all that is in infinity, guys. That really, with 2 whiteboards, is how to level up and master reality creation. I am your host, Tom Karen. And this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the videos. Hit the subscription button so you never miss a video. Share the page, share the channel with your friends and family and your co-workers. That's how we get our message out. Follow us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful, on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Karen. You can visit our website at tomkaren.com or besomethingwonderful.com, or write me anytime at info@besomethingwonderful.com. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, with great love and great light, this is Tom. See you soon.